Hello everybody, I am Alternative Star inhabiting the Canon space station. And today we're playing Under Your Moon. It is another game for the Velox Fabula 2 Game Jam. Far as I'm aware, there's no content warnings for this one. And yeah, I believe I saw there's 3 endings. So we'll try to get all endings this stream, depending on how long it takes. Your name, Altair. Hmm? You're going to meet a stranger. What do they? Yeah. Oh, let's go with they them. It's been roughly 1,800 days of being entirely alone. You gave up on counting a long time ago. The exact number long lost in the shuffle of your mind, but you do know that there have been 50 moons since. There's no purpose in days of the week, dates, or even months anymore. Now only seasons and moons carry weight. It's so much easier to track the moon. Drift aimlessly down the middle of the street, absent are the people and cars that may have once filled the empty city. Despite knowing this was near certainty, having not seen another person in years, an odd forbidding thrill still creeps up your spine as you trace your steps along the double yellow lines down the center of the cracking asphalt. It's become one of the small excitements you indulge in as is walking around in the darkness of night. Arriving at your apartment building, you pull your key, laden with keychain and a long navy blue collegiate lanyard from your pocket. You climb the 2 flights of stairs to your door, slide the key into the lock, and let yourself. What what does collegiate lanyard collegiate mean? Someone tell me. You give the lock a firm twist, and the bolt slides home, making a familiar and comforting thud. You hang your keys on the hook by the door. Some habits have simply held on, no matter how unnecessary. These rituals make you feel still a person. Compared to the streets of the city, your apartment feels normal. Other than the lack of electricity, rendering it darker and quieter without the overhead lights and the gentle buzz of the fridge, nothing inside your home has drastically changed the cataclysm. There's a dozen other places you could live, in theory. Nicer places even. Penthouse apartments, too many stairs, classic brownstones, stuffy and so hot in the summer, or one of the sprawling mansions on the outside of the city, creepy and way too big. There was always a reason not to, some downside. The biggest one being, this apartment is yours. Cherished memories of your loved ones fill every crevice of the room, and being here feels like holding on to those memories, holding on to them. You head into the living room, gathering the books scattered around, and light your candles as you go. Their dim, warm light reminds you of summer blackouts, your parents and toasted marshmallows, questionably safe flames. Once you've cleared some of the mess, you find your current journal. Still dozens, one scavenged from the same bookstore 3 blocks away. Soon you'll need to seek another one, as the pages in this one are almost filled to the brim. On a new page, jot down today's notes. The nearest grocery store is completely out of non-perishable food, a fact that would be more distressing if the smell of all the very perishable food hadn't become overwhelming moons ago. Usually, it's a challenge to name the events that differentiate your days, but today is different, not because of your diminished food supply, but because of the final line jot down in your entry. Tonight is the last full moon before the lunar eclipse. Without tracking dates or years, astronomical events have become your anniversaries, and tonight marks the second lunar eclipse since people began to disappear. You don't remember the early days of the cataclysm well, time having blurred many of its details, but you do remember that you didn't take the cataclysm seriously initially, primarily because you hadn't known anyone who disappeared, not yet. The next day, rumors flew that people were disappearing by the hundreds, perhaps thousands. That had it had sounded too fantastical, and yet fantasy had now become your reality. Slipping off your shoes, cross over to the kitchen to get a drink. Pass by, something flickered in the corner of your eye. I am also. I'm liking it so far. I like the way you're building it. Setting. But when you search for the source, you see nothing but your front door and the small table by it, the bowl and your key inside. Frowning, you go back to the task at hand and. Hey yo! Girl broke into my house! This is impossible, you can't be. You stumble backwards, shocked, and bump into the table behind you. Something shatters onto the floor, but you can't bring yourself to check what it was. They broke into my house! There's someone here. Another person. Someone with a dark hair that shifts to a shining red, whose eyes piercingly blue as chips of ice. They look horrified, and as out of place as they are, something about them strikes a chord. Your heart races, and your breath hitches. A strum of familiarity vibrates through you from somewhere deep within your mind. When's the last time you felt such a rush? The last time you saw a person? Who are you? The words tear themselves free, sounding like a whispered shout. All breaths, it hurts your throat. Me? Who are you? How are you here? You're not supposed to be here. It's my house! Excuse you? You gape at them. It's my house. But I live here. They start to answer you, their mouths opening slightly. And then they're gone. You don't glitch out of existence like those the Cataclysm took. They simply aren't there anymore. You're alone again. Huh? After a few moments of stunned silence, you remember the mess of something broken waiting for you. It sounded like ceramic or glass, and you sigh as you turn to clean it up. But there's nothing there. You search the floor and the table for whatever it was that could have broken. Rack your mind, but you can't remember what you may have left on the table that you would have shattered. All you can conclude is that whatever it was had disappeared, just as the stranger had, perhaps even glitched, although you've never seen or heard of that happening with objects before. And then again, you also haven't had a person appear in your apartment either. That's a moon phase, isn't it? The first moon? Or no? I don't know. I don't know the name of the phases. You spend most of your time over the next few weeks exploring the city, wondering, really. After seeing the stranger appear in your apartment, it feels like something should be different, but everywhere you go feels the same, an eerie emptiness you can't mistake for anything else but solitude. You've always been a night owl, finding yourself energized in twilight hours while everyone else slept, but in the first few months after the cataclysm, the night had been terrifying, seemed to punctuate how isolated you were. Then, one night, you'd realized you were alone. There may have been things like wild animals in the night, but most of the dangers that lurked in a city after nightfall were undeniably human. Humans who, as far as you could tell, were now limited to only you. You'd begun to explore the city at night, every night. In the darkness, you found freedom. The moon's light, so very bright without the light pollution of the city, provided you with companionship. Under its silver-eyed watch, you maneuvered this new world with a new perspective. Even as the city slowly changed, the moon remained constant. Time was lost to you, increasingly meaningless. The moon held its steady cycles and kept time for you. Nature reclaimed the city surprisingly quickly, with sidewalks cracking and giving way to weeds, then wildflowers and saplings. Buildings once damaged by drivers or pilots suddenly taken by the cataclysm crumbled in on themselves, and telephone wires and lights fell. In the daylight, these changes are haunting, but in the night, they're merely shadows and texture in the dark. The moon and the night are your friends, as familiar to you as the cadence of your own breaths. So, you notice when you peer up at the moon and the shadow that's begun to creep over it is more crimson than you expected. You're fairly certain it's not a blood moon. Is it because of the upcoming eclipse? Whatever the reason, it's enough to drive you back inside, cutting your nighttime promenade short. You had learned rather quickly that a nervous and restless mind left to wander would begin to find meaning in anything. You had made the first moon phase when you were entirely alone, nothing short of. And so, rather than leave matters to the whims of your loneliness, you channeled this need for answers into something where signs and meanings made sense, tarot. You sit on your bed to shuffle through your deck until the cards feel warm in your hands, the swirling designs on the back faded from handling use. I'm gonna be staring at the cards that get pulled with a lot of intensity because I actually read tarot. So I'm like, Lay out a simple spread on the blanket and survey the different symbols, piecing together a reading in your mind. But as you fervently strive to decipher its meaning, the split makes no sense to you, for its message indicates a coming doom, new beginnings, and great love. Things that, as far as you can tell, can't coexist. And things that, in this world, can't really exist at all. Hey bestie! Welcome to the stream. You sigh and scoop the cards back up, shuffling a few more times before returning your deck to its velvet back. It doesn't always work. Obviously, this reading in particular is very off. There's no new beginnings in this world, only endings. There's no one around to form some great love with, and even if there was, you can't say you're particularly interested in loving someone just to be alone again when they inevitably glitch into nothingness. And doom. Well, that one is certainly plausible at least. Lately, you can't shake the memory of the stranger appearing in your apartment. It creates a tingle at the back of your neck, like being watched, and suddenly every sound and movement feels suspect. You've seen shadows gathering in the corners of your vision, now simply growing and casting as they do in the changing light, but roiling. Has the cataclysm come for you? Is it finally your turn to glitch existence? What other reason could there be for this hallucination haunting you, forcing you to remember the pain of loneliness and the sensation of fear? Or perhaps the reason is simple. Perhaps you finally lost your sanity. After all, it's been a long time coming. Right. Probably imagined the whole thing. And I don't know if I imagined the whole thing. There was a person in my apartment that broke in. These things weren't here before. What the fuck? This? What's the other thing over there, I guess? That's fine. When we do another run, I'll pick these things on the table. If I remember. Watch me forget. Over the past few weeks, it's been less and less appealing to go out at night. The moon, your constant companion, feels wrong. Also, I like the little warning that there's gonna be a timed event. I appreciate that. Because I don't click with my mouse, I click with my keyboard. So I have to actually put my hand on my mouse to do something. It's difficult to pinpoint exactly what's off about the moon, but you know it begins with a red shadow, fairly certain has only grown more and more visible. The moonlight that has always protected and calmed you no longer has that effect, it almost feels hostile. Oh god, why the music changed? You know it's ridiculous, and yet you can't step outside without that ominous sensation prickling at your nape. Try to ignore it for a while, but it's undeniable. The moon, even with its clear connection to the cataclysm, had never felt threatening before. Till now. As night settles in, you go to the drawer where you keep your lighter, so you can light your candles for the evening. Darkness encroaches. Light from the moon is no longer the bright white you're familiar with, but a reddish glow you prefer to combat with as much candlelight as possible. Feel around in the drawer twice, coming up empty. Frowning, you survey the surfaces around you, but even in dim light, you can tell there is no lighter there. Need another. Consider going out now, but shake off the sod. Not necessary. You can make it through the night. Go tomorrow. You need more supplies anyway. Lighters themselves shouldn't be hard to find. They're stocked in every gas station, grocery store, craft store, and convenience store in the city. And if you were truly desperate, you're sure you could find plenty. Oh my god, the noise scared the shit out of me. And if you were truly desperate, you're sure you could find plenty in any of the abandoned homes surrounding you. But the lighters aren't the real problem. The real problem is food and water. For those, you have to go quite far, and you've already resorted to breaking into homes. Something still feels wrong, despite knowing there's no one to feel upset by the intrusion. You know that soon you'll have to seek supplies outside of the city. The thoughts of leaving your home make your throat tight. So many of your memories are tied to this place, and without the familiarity of the apartment anchoring them to your mind, you're not sure how many of them you'll keep if you leave. You shove the thoughts of your slowly deteriorating position out of your mind. It doesn't help to worry about it now. Instead, you eye your bedroom, but the dark in your apartment is unwavering. You expect clouds to be obscure in the moonlight. However, when you look out the window, the sky is undeniably clear, and the moon glows red, as bright as it's ever been. The prickling feeling begins in the back of your neck before traveling down your spine. The fine hairs on your arms raise, and you suppress a shudder. The shadows around you feel sick, more akin to a fog than simple darkness. You find yourself staring at the corner near your mirror, which feels so sick in shadow you're sure you could reach out and touch it. And then, it moves. The shadow ripples and squirms as it reacts to your scrutiny, and you recoil. You need light, you need more light. More light in the right place. You snatch the hand mirror off your desk, angle it under the moonbeams, streaming through the window. After a few moments of careful angling, the light reflects off the mirror and directly into the shadows. Hi, hi! The darkness retreats, pulling back like fingers relinquishing their grip. It doesn't make you feel better. You don't sleep that night, struggling to convince yourself to close your eyes. The next morning, you go out and collect more than 15 lighters and additional candles and bring them home. The first night of the waning gibbous moon, you sit on your couch, several journals piled in your lap. You spend most of the evening reading snippets from them, refreshing your memory of the first people you lost in the cataclysm. In particular, you think of your best friend Anna. When the cataclysm began, Anna took it quite seriously. She didn't lose anyone herself during the first wave, but she told you of the screams that had come from her neighbor's apartment that night when their child, no more than 7 years old, disappeared. Anna had suggested a simple check-in system. Each night, you would text each other the word safe, once after the moon had fully risen in the sky, another first thing in the morning. It made Anna feel safe, so you did it. Each check-in would pull in the same moment of doubt. If you didn't answer, or she didn't, all the system did was alert the other to the fact that the person was gone. It didn't make you feel safer at all. Anna had checked in during the night, after the moon was high in the overcast sky, and you'd gone to sleep. In the morning, you texted her to check in, and waited for her response. It was almost always within a few minutes, but it never came. You... Let's do went to them. You had raced to her house, dread boiling in your stomach like acid. You'd already known before you'd arrived what must have happened. Just as you suspected, check-ins hadn't kept her safe. They just kept you in the know. She disappeared right in front of her mother during the night. Anna had often said that the sound of her neighbor's screams were permanently caught in her ears, that she could hear them during any quiet moment. After that day, you finally understood what she meant. Her mother's sobs never left you. You still remember her laugh, how you would elaborate meals. The bonds of friendship you forged remained in place, but the person herself? Anna's face has long swum out of focus. You can remember the things she'd say, but her voice is no longer attached to the words, simply faded into the background. You don't know when it happened exactly, but time and distance had burned away every detail of her, leaving only the essence behind, a whiff of what had once been there. Her memory existed in a limbo, as if she had always been there and always been gone. You read over the last journal entry detailing a particular trip with Anna that you no longer recalled but could feel. The warmth of her memory radiates the words. You release a long breath, looking up from the pages, make eye contact with a set of blue eyes. Oh, this motherfucker's breaking into my house again! Get out of my house! My god, get out of my house! You take a step forward, looking tense, angry even. This isn't right. You can't be here. You throw your book, and inadvertent reflex provoked by the unsettling expression on their face, the hope to deter them from coming any closer. The book sails right through them, landing on the opposite side of the room. What, huh? You stare at each other for a moment, both frozen and uncomprehending. You recover first. I am supposed to be here. This is my apartment. Not to mention, I'm solid, while you... You gesture at the book that had just phased through them. You're obviously the impossible person here. You don't understand. No one is meant to be here. This entire place is empty, isn't it? Well, clearly it's not fucking empty! I'm here! You're unsure how to answer, if you want to be honest. The moment calls to mind a childhood memory of your mother teaching you not to tell strangers you were home alone. I'm not empty. It isn't? No. They stare at you, and you get the distinct expression that they think you're either lying or deeply unhinged. How are you been here? I don't know. Now you're the one who stares in disbelief. You don't know? But you're the one who... Not that simple. So you do know what's happening. They pause, and you sense deception in their hesitation. To me, you're the one appearing. What do you see? What exactly do you see then, when this happens? I see an apartment. All one room, really. There's a bookcase and a bed, a couch and a coffee table. There's a table by the door with a bowl on it for keys. There's a vase on the table, too. Small kitchen and picture frames on the walls. They trail off, looking away for a moment before returning their gaze to you, expression unreadable. What's your name? You don't think they'll answer, but then... Knox. My name is Knox. I'm Altair. You should be more unnerved. Why aren't you more afraid? I'm a lot less calm than I look, trust me, but... You gesture to the book on the floor behind them. It seems like we aren't even truly in the same place. We can't just see each other. You draw a bit closer, squinting at Knox. You look carefully, you realize you can actually see through them. They seem more like a projection or a hologram. There, but not physically. I doubt you could hurt me if you wanted to. I don't want to hurt you. Your tone is serious and certain, but you only shrug slightly. So, you are alone? Yes. How alone? I don't know for certain, but very. I haven't seen someone else, or even signs of someone else, in a very, very long time. Your voice is starting to ache. It's been ages since you've spoken so much. What did you mean, exactly, that I'm not supposed to be? You didn't mean just in my apartment, did you? They hesitate, as if about to say something, and they disappear once more. Bro just keeps doing this shit. With Knox gone, you're suddenly acutely aware of being alone. But it's a different kind of alone than you've become accustomed to. The feeling has a name that slides just out of reach every time you get close, but it bothers you. Generally consider putting up bells or traps of some kind to protect against intruders, but the urge is irrational. But the urge is irrational. Even if Knox returns, you're confident they can't actually touch you. You get ready for bed, but rather than plunging yourself into darkness, you pull out one of your very few battery-powered lanterns. They're a limited resource you have hardly dared to use, but tonight the dark has teeth. You awake to the acute sensation of a presence in the room with you. Try to open your eyes, but you can't. The fact that fuels panic in your gut, but some odd instinct keeps you still and quiet in bed. A moment later, you feel it. A human warm puff of air against your face, then another. Freezing. It's damp and bears an odd, vaguely unpleasant odor. Not quite foul, but extremely other. Remain entirely still, feeling without other options and terrified of drawing attention to the fact that you're awake. Could this be a figment of your mind? A dream brought to life by your imagination? The moisture beating on your skin suggests otherwise. After far too long of being still and breathing as shallowly as possible, the sensation passes, and the breaths withdraw. You can tell you could open your eyes again if you wanted to, but you don't dare just yet. You wait, still and eyes closed, for several long minutes. Only when you truly cannot stand it anymore do you open your eyes. It's dark, the lantern is off, and knocked onto the ground. Not the fucking lantern! When you pick it up and test it, you find that it's not off, it's broken, far beyond repair. Man, those shit's expensive, and hard to come by. Third quarter. Good boy. Your trust in your own mind is wavering. Reality no longer feels objective. Hold on it worsened from not seeing Nox for weeks. Honestly, I too would bill them for the lamp. Like, bro, we're like in the post-apocalypse. We're like the only people around, and you go and break my lamp. In the quieter moments, you analyze your conversation with them, searching for signs that it never happened, and that it was all a grand production put on by the loneliest parts of your mind. You need a hobby, something new to entertain your mind. I mean, plants feels like the most reasonable, because if we get into plants, we can like grow our own food. You've never had much of a green thumb. Honestly, you once managed to very efficiently kill a plant that the plant nursery worker had described as a hardy, domesticated weed. Your brother, Raid, on the other hand, had a natural gift with anything that grew in soil. He'd often try to teach you how to identify what a plant needs or the differences between all kinds of plants, but you've never been particularly interested. Okay, this might have been a bad idea. Until now. For your birthday before the cataclysm, your brother had gifted you a small but lovely flowering cactus. On the pot, he had written the care instructions for the needle-covered plant in hopes that the ease of accessibility would make you more likely to actually follow them. He'd been right, of course. Raid had known you better than just about anyone. You successfully kept your cactus alive all this time. In fact, looking over your cactus, you realize that it's gotten too big for its pot. You need to repot it. And if you're going to repot your cactus, then you may as well work on improving your overall plant skills. Y'all, I'm so bad with plants. I had a succulent that had been gifted to me. It died. Do you know how hard it is to kill a succulent? And I fucking killed it. I forgot I had it. Go out to gather some new plant supplies. You find a better spot for your cactus, along with some appropriate soil and some tools. You search for a new plant friend to bring home as well, but most of the plants in the nursery have long since died, neglected and uncared for. However, as you're walking home, you spot a plant growing in the sidewalk. It's a white flower that binds through the cement, the petals white and flat and forming a near-perfect circle. You gently dig up the flower, careful not to damage the roots too much, and bring the plant home with you. When you get home, you first focus on repotting your cactus first. The process riddles you with anxiety. Please don't let me kill this cactus. After the cactus is safely transferred, you move on to the white flower, trying to ignore the search of guilt over removing the plant from its perfectly functioning environment to a small pod where there's a decent chance you'll kill it. Maybe the transplanting alone will kill it before you have the chance. Maybe you should have left it where it was. Or maybe it'll simply have to learn how to survive as you had. You're restless. Wandering the city streets in the dark has become easier than being alone in your apartment, so you perpetually find yourself under the red-hazed moon. With the moon now halved in the sky and the rage... Huh? Why is OBS giving me an error? alive. Oh, okay, we're still live. OBS just decided. Yeah, OBS just decided that it couldn't keep recording the stream. So, fuck me, I guess. But the stream is still up. So, yeah, hey ball. It's fine. With the moon now halved in the sky, and the red shadow so starkly different from the white moon, it looks almost as if there are two moons, one overlaying the other. Or, let me see if I can make it start recording like regular. Because if I decide to edit the VOD, like, I kinda need the recording. It looks, okay, it looks fine so far. Okay. Anyways. What's an Altair stream without scuff, you know? With the moon now halved in the sky and the red shadow so starkly different from the white moon, it looks almost as if there are two moons, one overlaying the other. Your mind keeps wandering to your brother. He disappeared on the night of the third quarter moon. The moment is burned into your brain, somehow impervious to the fate and dulling that all your other memories are subject to. Of course, this is the one memory you'd be happy to allow to fade. As you walk, moonlight flashes red, and you immediately halt. In the distance, you heard a strange sound, almost like a wailing noise, soft at first before growing increasingly louder, closer. You don't wait to see its source. Instead, you head straight towards your apartment. As you approach your building, another flash of red distorts your vision. Your apartment is demolished. As you stare in horror at the destruction, you take a step back, as if retreating from this red-washed world. And when you blink, it's back to normal. Whether it's all a blessing or a curse, waste no time pondering. Rush inside, praying that it's your safe haven that will greet you. Upon entering, not only do you find your safe haven, you again! You find Nox. They look distressed somehow, but you can't quite identify what facial expression they're making. You're still here. Was I supposed to go somewhere? No, but still strange. You laugh dryly. Well, you can always try checking back tomorrow. Maybe the cataclysm will take me tonight. Okay. Blink twice, waiting for them to say more. They don't. This response is different from their usual short manner of speaking. The hesitation in their voice is tinged with confusion. The unease in your stomach grows stronger. You know what I'm talking about? Should I? All the confirmation you could want or need. You were right. You're not from this world. We covered this at our last meeting. Only partly. You left before you could give a full explanation. Is that normal in your world? You blindside people with ridiculous statements and then abandon them for weeks? Weeks? Have so many moons already passed in your world? Nox glances at your window, or likely the moon framed by the window, before returning their gaze to you. Your moon has hardly changed since last I saw you. Are your moon cycles longer than ours then? So, Nox is like an alien. Alien ghost? Something like that? It wasn't my intention to blindside you or abandon you. Their cold blue eyes take you in, and it feels like they're truly looking at you for the first time ever. My apologies. As for leaving, I don't do it of my own. They stop, and you recognize it as their typical, infuriating manner of hiding things. At any rate, does this mean you believe me now? That we're from different worlds? There's not a person from my world who wouldn't know about the cataclysm. You keep using that phrase as if it means something to me. You bristle at the dismissive way they speak, at the distant way they talk about the single event that shattered your world. You want to tell them that it took everyone away from you, that it tore your reality apart, just to stitch it back together in a twisted, cruel tapestry. That even now, it still holds you hostage by forcing you to live day after day in this empty wasteland. We are not making Nox listen to music from Earth. But you can't bring yourself to say any of that. You've never said these words aloud to anyone. Never had the luxury to. And now that you have your chance, you're not sure you have the strength to utter them. The cataclysm was a worldwide event, tragedy of epic proportions. Hold on, gotta lower the volume on my end. I'll make it a little bit higher now on stream. I cannot speak properly if I can't hear myself speak. The cataclysm was a worldwide event, a tragedy of epic proportions. Is that what happened to everyone? How did you avoid it? Hmm. Let's let's be honest. I would like to try and get the good ending first try, but I don't know. It's hard to explain. People just started to disappear, literally vanish into thin air, in bigger and bigger batches until I'm the only one left, at least as far as I know. For a long time, I thought I'd be next, and then I just wasn't. Never happened. I gave up on anticipating it. If a hope made me wish for it, and ultimately it was torture. Knox looks distinctly uncomfortable. Makes you think the question was simple and quick, and you did not give that. Does it still bother you, not knowing if you'll disappear too? Your answer is immediate. Of course, but there's nothing I can do at this point. I have to just live. I read books and tarot cards, go on walks and explore. I pick up a new hobby every now and then. I just started planting. Otherwise, the fear really would make me insane. In the distance you hear a sound, a wailing that hums through the city and seems to have no specific source. It penetrates the walls of the building, ringing so loudly you think you left the windows open. Oh god. Can you hear that? Hear what? That's enough confirmation for you, and you step towards the windows to see and identify the source of the sound. Your hand traces over the glass as the wailing rings in your ears. An unwanted memory, like many of that arise on this anniversary of your brother's disappearance, surfaces. You're back with your parents, watching helplessly as they sob over your brother's disappearance. Even back then, you knew this memory was one that would haunt you forever. You begin to tremble. Altair. Then you're back in your apartment, your safe haven. And Knox is behind you, brows drawn down. Oh my god. Brows drawn down. They observe you. As suddenly as the sound had come, it's gone again. I feel like I'm losing it, truly. It's possible, but at the very least, I'm pretty sure my presence is real. It's your turn not to laugh at some uncomfortable joke. Who's Raid? The question startles you, and you find yourself frowning at them. Where did you hear that name? Knox gestures to a book on the table, whose cover displays Raid. You didn't try to read it, did you? Knox swiped their hand down and through the book, demonstrating what you both knew, and but your brain somehow refused to grasp. They can't touch anything here. Not the books, not the furniture, and not you. So, who is he? Oh? Raid was my brother. You still smile reflexively at his memory. Years of fondness overpowering Reef's downward pull on the corners of your mouth. He was older than me, not by much, but enough. Reef wins its tug of war. You feel your smile collapse. He disappeared on the night of the third quarter moon, right in front of me. It was the first time I actually saw it happen. We started calling it a glitch, because that's what it looked like. He just flickered out of existence. He was here, and then he just wasn't. My parents and I kept staring at the space he's been standing, waiting for him to reappear, but he never did. The odd thing is that it really feels like, looking back, he knew it was going to happen. Maybe he felt it coming. It was weird the whole day, nostalgic, sad. It wasn't like him at all. He spent the whole day with me and my parents. I'm pretty sure he called our sister at least 3 times before different times to talk. You avert your eyes for a moment, waiting for the tightness in your throat to pass. If he did know, then at least he seemed able to leave on his own terms. It was a surprisingly comforting thought, and you crack a smile and knocks it. As you watch your hand fade through the journal, the uncomfortable feeling creeps through you again. Perhaps it's because their holographic presence reminds you of people glitching out of existence. Perhaps you sorely wish they were solid, so you could remember what it was like to truly be next to. You know focusing on either of those thoughts will only torture you, so you anchor yourself with thoughts of your brother's journal. I tried to think of him often, and that journal is just full of details of him, probably obsessively thorough. Capturing details of him helped you remember your father, whose memories had gotten painfully foggy over the past several moons. As a result, you're fairly certain you remember Raid best out of anyone, save maybe your mother. Does it help, remembering him? The question throws you off. It isn't one you've considered before, so you pause before answering. Not always, honestly. Sometimes it feels like it'd be easier to forget. But even still, I'd rather remember. What did you try to remember? You smile a little. Oh my god. A few specifics floating to the surface. You like to walk late at night, just like me. I don't know which of us started it, but we meet up and wander through the city at night. He loved plans and going to parties and just observing people. He was good at making people feel comfortable. Thank you for telling me. You don't get to finish your question. They're gone. You go to bed, but sleep doesn't come easily. During the night, the wailing starts again. It wakes you several times, so loud that it feels like it's coming from inside your apartment and shaking the walls. In those moments, the only feeling more potent than the fear is the loneliness. Waning. The odd glitches are happening more and more. They've driven you inside. They happen less inside the apartment. Books appearing or disappearing, sudden darkness or shadows that make no sense, and, of course, the wailing sound. But these are manageable compared to the ones outside. While you don't see the glitches outside, you know they're happening, and they're on a different scale compared to the small glitches in your apartment. The outside is no longer safe, no longer familiar. It fills you with unbelievable frustration. Your life before Knox may not have seemed like much to someone else, but it had been yours. You had cobbled it together out of sheer willpower, and now everything is going sideways, once again due to things beyond your control. Your helplessness is thrown in your face, and it only highlights how alone you are, so very alone. The feelings have become so acute you find yourself waiting for Knox to appear, hoping that they would appear. They don't, and the days drag, leaves you with mixed feelings. You've also begun to dread the upcoming eclipse. There's no specific thought or reason attached to the feeling, only a sense of foreboding that builds in intensity with every night that passes. You dig through the farmer's almanacs for clues or signs as to why you may be feeling this way. The books had predicted the cataclysm, though not in so many words, but perhaps it would know something about the eclipse as well. Unfortunately, the almanacs were published far too long ago to give an in-depth prediction of an oncoming astronomical event. So apart from the fact that there's a significant cosmic event coming, they offer nothing. With your trips outside becoming less and less frequent, and the duration shorter and shorter, your scavenging suffers. There's not enough food within the short distance you're willing to travel to feed you, so you're forced to ration your supplies. With less of your time taken up by scavenging, lean more heavily into your hobbies. After some very touch-and-go behavior from your cactus, it seems to have adapted successfully to its new pot. The old pot sits empty beside it, bearing your brother's written instructions on care. You tried utilizing these same instructions to keep your transplanted flower alive, but had found that those particulars do not translate to flowers after the second flowering plant had died. You're now on your fifth attempt to keep the plants alive. You're starting to feel guilty for killing so many of them with your ineptitude. The flowers will bloom huge and wide and beautiful, only to wilt and die by the next day. While it's admittedly frustrating, you've had a slightly better luck with a few other plants you tried transplanting, including one that turned out to be a simple dandelion that had grown suspiciously large. When the waning crescent reaches its zenith, you decide to do some tarot. You've never tried to communicate or get message from people lost to the cataclysm. You've done it for people who have died, but that didn't include the glitched. People who glitched didn't die. They weren't souls you were separated from their mortal realm. They simply disappeared. which means that they either went somewhere else or they ceased to exist at all. You try not to focus on the latter, even though it's what you believe in your heart of hearts. But tonight, you're going to try and contact your little sister. While you and Raid had been closer in age, Naomi had much younger than both of you. The gap had made it harder to relate to them when you were a teenager, but as you both aged, the relationship strengthened. Naomi had paid far more attention to your grandma's tarot lessons and loved to practice her readings on you. She often dragged you away from whatever task you were doing so you could be her practice subject. Try to focus on her as you pull your cards. Her face is a blur you can't quite focus on in your mind. Her features obscured and only the impression of her left behind. But even in the afterimage, you can hear her laugh, a light sing caught on the winds outside. Probably. Queen of Coins. Vision. Trust. As you look over your card, you notice a glitch across the room, a photo of someone you've never met. You immediately turn, assuming that the overlap has begun, and there they are. You feel a rush of relief, as if you've been missing them. You're sure it's more about having some companionship than it's about them specifically, but it's a welcome relief all the same. Hi. Hello. They glance at the cards in your hands, their eyes sparkling. What are you up to? I was using tarot cards to try and reach out. But I saw you were alone. I am. My sister disappeared a while ago. On a crescent moon night actually, during the cataclysm. My sister didn't live in the same city as the rest of my family. She was away for school when the cataclysm began, and would come home from time to time. I was home for a while once we realized how bad it was, but she and a bunch of others felt like the cities were being hit worse than some of the more rural areas, so they wanted to head out there. She was a very independent thinker. An auditory memory of your mother's voice describing Naomi in these exact words shifts to the front of your mind, and you smile a little. So she went with that group, and would come home sometimes to visit between phases. Honestly, I had started to believe she actually was safer there. Her group was over 50 people, and they didn't lose anyone for such a long time. Then, maybe 3 moon cycles in, the whole group disappeared. Every single one of them, all at once. You look down at your hands, your throat feels vaguely sick, trying not to remember. Being the last sibling had been the beginning of this loneliness. Kind of marrow deep, DNA changing loneliness. I'm sorry. Thanks. Did it work? Reaching out to her? I'm not really sure, to be honest. I hope so. I'd rather her be dead than just non-existent. Knox dips their chin in a quick affirmative motion, shifting their weight uncomfortably from one foot to the next. Are you able to move around? I haven't tried it. I don't know. You pat the space on the couch beside you. Try. Knox hesitates a moment, then takes a few tentative steps. They slowly navigate around the back of the couch, moving as if they don't trust the ground underneath their feet. Then, once lined up with the couch, they lower themselves onto it. Because of your surprise, it seems to work. They're sitting on the couch with you. It would have been kind of funny if they just fell through. Interesting. How is that possible? I'm pretty sure I'm actually sitting on an ottoman in my apartment. This lines up well with your couch. It seems like whenever this occurs, my world overlays yours. I'm in mine and you're in yours. But in this window, they are occupying the same space. Suddenly, their delicate movements make sense, and you nod in understanding. Why do you assume... You frown a bit, pondering their words. Why do you assume that your world is overlaying mine, and not the other way around? Just that, an assumption. Doesn't mean I'm right. But you have a reason, don't you? I suppose it's because my world is functional. Yours doesn't seem to be. That's nice. You don't like the answer, but it's also hard to argue. You're not looking so good. Such a charmer. Be careful. Your flattery may make me... Knox rolls her eyes at you. Be sarcastic if you want, but I'm serious. You look unwell, too thin, and your color is washed out. What's changed since last time? You know what they're referring to, but it feels embarrassing to admit. Are you out of food? Sigh. Kinda. Things here have been weird. Odd things are happening at night. Gotten so bad even in the day even the daytime scares me. Something's changed here. I don't know I'm alone anymore. Not people before you ask, just things. I feel them watching me all the time. It's made it hard to scavenge, so I've had to get a bit frugal in my rations. What exactly is happening that's making you feel afraid? You seem to have been relatively fearless until now. What's changed that makes you feel like you're in danger? It's difficult to put into words, and you chew on your thoughts with a few false starts before answering. It was easy to be unafraid when I knew I was alone. Now there are unknown factors. I don't know what exactly is making me feel this way, but I feel like something's prey, like danger's approaching. Knox studies you, and surprisingly, you find yourself shying away under the scrutiny of their gaze. It's different from the last time they gazed at you. Now, with them sitting beside you, closer than you were used to, you actually you realize you actually feel self-conscious. Well, even as that may be, you need to take care of yourself. Eating isn't an option, nor is it a luxury you can skip, and if you are in danger, being weakened won't help you. Yeah? You shrug. It's a kind thought, but they don't understand the situation you find yourself in. I'll try. Maybe scavenge during the day more? I already do, but even the day doesn't feel safe anymore. And some of my runs take so long that even if I leave in the morning, it'll be dark before I get home again. I wish I could help. Thanks, I'll figure it out. What kinds of things are you seeing that are such an issue? Are the shadows? Nox disappears. Man! Moon. The feeling of imminent doom is becoming overwhelming. Can't seem to shake it, and in fact, it seems to be escalating day by day. You struggle more and more to leave your apartment. You know it isn't healthy, and you're starting to feel like a paranoid recluse hiding in your apartment. But daylight no longer does anything to make you feel safe. Even in broad daylight, you swear you can see the outline of a reddish moon. As it slivers and disappears, the red shadow seems to follow it up. No longer just feels ominous, but actively hostile. A bloodied eye in the sky. You found yourself thinking of it as the red moon, as if it's not a shadow, not your moon at all, but something entirely other. Without venturing outside or changes in routine to punctuate your days, each one is blending into the next in a way they never have before. You find yourself both dreading the next moon phase and longing for it, hating each moment bringing you closer to the eclipse, and yet hoping for a chance at company and a relief of this crushing solitude and panic. On the night of the new moon, you find yourself thinking of your dad, who disappeared on a similar moonless night during the cataclysm. Thinking back, you can recall very few details of the day he disappeared. Instead, you remember the slow, creeping sensation of the realization that Mom's reaction was the sharpest memory of them all. Something in her broke irreparably when your dad glitched. You had begged him not to go out, become convinced that staying and sticking together would keep them safe, even if it had done nothing for Raid. Honestly, though, she was never the same after losing two of her children. She was hollow and haunted, with an air of grief around her so sick you could taste it on your tongue. Your dad had been the one who kept her moving. You too. You knew he grieved your siblings, but grief gave him an edge of determination and strength, where you were pieces away from your mother. An apartment building had crumbled a few blocks away. The calls for help could come through the city streets like an old-fashioned fire brigade, which, you supposed, was really all that was left by this time. Your dad had insisted it would be fine, and he had a duty to go and help. You'd never seen your mom so desperate to keep him at the house, so distraught that he wouldn't listen to her. He had dropped a kiss on her forehead and stroked her chin affectionately before turning to your mother. In your memory, they're a blur, two bodies holding each other so closely that they'd be. And then he left. You flipped through the pages of the journal you used father, high-skimming passages before catching on a single line on the otherwise blank page. One of the last things you'd written down. That smells like spiced cologne and worn leather, the faintest scent of campfire smoke. The description immediately brings the smell to mind. It's one of the clearest memories you have. It's unimpeded with details and specifics, faces or events, and instead fills your chest with the same warmth and comfort that you would feel each time he wrapped you in a hug. Surrounding you is that scent. It's late. You don't know how late, obviously. You can feel the night starting to circle into evening, and you still haven't been able to sleep. You wish, possibly for the first time ever, they had had curtains for the large windows behind your bed. The moonless sky, leaving only the red moon, full and dark, feels like it's staring into your apartment. The lack of silvery light from the moon makes the shadows ambitious, like they're reaching fingers of darkness towards you. Hard to sit still, and every now and then you get up and light a few more candles to drive the risen black back into its corners. It renders the room a bit too bright for sleep, several degrees too warm. You're laying on the couch, having given up on your bed several hours before, when Knox appears in the middle of the room. Neither of you are surprised anymore. In fact, your only thoughts regarding this appearance is that they are quite late. Lots of candles tonight, hmm? You shrug, too tired to quit back. Knox walks closer, eyeing your expression for a long moment, and the awkwardness of being observed forces a nice smile. So, how are things? I need you to just listen. I have a lot I need to explain, and no way of knowing how long I'll be here, so you need to just be quiet and hear me. Can you do that? Your eyebrows shoot up. You've seen several sides of Knox at this point, but this aspect of them, this deathly serious urgency, is new and a bit alarming. You sit up, blinking the blurriness from your eyes and focusing on Knox's face. I can do that. Good, because I think I know why this, the gesture between the two of you, happening. That piques your attention, and you're immediately wide awake. I've been doing some research, a lot of research actually, on any phenomena I can find that are even remotely similar. Based on that, I believe that our worlds are on a crash course towards each other. You don't know what you'd expected them to say, but it wasn't that. What does this mean? I was getting to that. I just told you to be quiet and listen. Dwayne sipping your lips closed, and Knox rolls their eyes. Can you be serious? Just still, their own grave expression quieting even your nervous teasing. When I say a crash course, I mean it. It seems like our worlds are quite literally colliding. They're trying to occupy the same space at the same time, and at some point, that is impossible. Are they going to merge? Can't keep the hope out of your voice. The idea of being perpetually in the same space as Nox and as other people is more appealing than the idea of crashing worlds is anxiety-provoking. No. Your hopes are dashed quickly. You wince. It's hard to explain, but where I live, I specialize in a form of science that allows me to measure energies and directionalities using special tools that have to be specifically attuned to the specific location their worlds are measuring. As I try to explain, you note that this sounds a lot more like magic than science, but keep the observation to yourself. Based on my readings, only one world is going to survive the merge. The other will be absorbed, everything in it converted to energy to the dominant world. My world doesn't have enough energy. The sciences we work require so much that there's just never enough, so it's almost like a black hole of sorts. There's never enough because the cost and output to sustain what's happening here is so high. Your world seems young. It has so much energy and almost no cost whatsoever. It's an abundance that has attracted my world. When they collide, the energy is going to seek some form of equilibrium, and doing so, I don't think your world will survive. The only thing I can say for sure is that one of our worlds will fall. We cannot coexist on this course, just a matter of whose. You and Nox stare at each other, the gravity of their words sinking between you like stones. You can hear your own pulse in your ears, feel it in your throat. You don't want to believe them, but deep in your gut you know they're right. You can feel the death of your world coming. So, what I'm seeing, those aren't because of the eclipse, it's because our worlds are truly overlapping. I'm seeing parts of your world. Nox. It was the moon that made me suspect it. Yours is bright and silvery white. Yours is red, isn't it? Nox doesn't confirm or deny anything, but you know you're right. The things you've seen are the trappings of a world that's hungry, dying, hunting. Can we survive? That can't just be it. There has to be something we can do. Nox turns slightly like they can swear to look at you. Discomfort radiates off of them. I don't know. I don't think so. You won't give up so easily. You can't. How did you actually figure this out? The sciences we use are probably best compared to something like your tarot, but far more exact. There's specific methods and patterns we look for, specific components, timing, chemical reactions. Too much to really summarize, but utilizing the sciences, I was able to determine what was currently happening, the state of my world, determine the energy balances, and extrapolate from there. Knox rails off, catching the self mid-ramble. You blinked at them, almost sorry you asked, save for the fact that you're pretty sure Knox is describing a form of magic, and it's difficult to not be too distracted by that possibility. You do this science, couldn't we use it to try and change the past or something? I don't think so. Maybe it'd be complex, but... They sigh and run a hand through their dark hair, tugging slightly on the red strands. It's an oddly vulnerable gesture you've never seen from them before, and you find yourself caught up in the moment of it for a moment. I don't know what I can do that, but I can do that now. Oh my god, I don't know that I can do that, but maybe I can at least get you out of there, so... You don't need them to finish the sentence, you nod vigorously. Thank you, Knox, thank you. I'll help, however I can. I don't know how much you'll be able to help, but we'll try. From what I've found so far, the convergence is possible primarily because of the compatibility between the celestial faces of your world and mine. They match up in precisely the same way, which acts as a kind of gateway for this interaction. Based on that, it seems likely that this will occur during the upcoming eclipse. I assume you're having one too, right? At the next full moon? You're about to answer, but Nox disappears. You stare at the space where they were, your mind reeling as it tries to catch up with everything that's just occurred. Slowly, your gaze drags to the red moon in the sky. Noxan moon, not yours. Oh boy. After learning the world is, in fact, going to end, the weeks following feel strange. You aren't sure what to feel at first, if an odd sort of indiction. You had somehow sensed you were in danger. Feel justified in your fear, understanding now that these feelings have a true cause, and knowing that these dangers are exactly as real as they feel. Your anxiety constantly strums in your veins. Oh my god. You stock up on food in one fell swoop, spending all day and even large portions of the night gathering what you'll need. The entire sky feels like your enemy, like it'll swallow you whole at any moment. And then there's the loneliness. Blade, once dull and useless, has sharpened to a cutting edge, and it carves you from within, with constant ache threatening to send you to madness. On the night of the waxing crescent, you spend most of the daytime pacing your apartment like a caged animal, waiting for the night, and Nox to arrive. It feels inevitable at this point that they will appear. The only question is when. Your anticipation of their answers unaccompanied renders you even more restless than before, and time slows to a torturous crawl. You shuffle your tarot cards to pass the time. You can't bring yourself to pull a card. As the moon climbs higher and higher in the sky, your certainty falters. Perhaps something happened to it. Your mind plucks up images of the reaching shadows, the memory of the breaths on your face, and the wails you've heard. If those are all a result of your worlds overlapping, just as Nox's presence is, does that mean those horrors are native to their world? Though, their world seemed dangerous, even more so than yours. Did Nox really have time to help you when somewhere so terrifying? Worry joins the uncomfortable amalgamation of emotions churning in your stomach, and the back of your throat burns as bile bubbles up. As the moon begins its descent towards the horizon, you give up. Clearly aren't showing tonight, and decide to migrate to your bed, when the very person you've been waiting for appears beside you on the couch. They're frowning down at a device in their hands, muttering angrily under their breaths. You can't quite make out the words. They sound suspiciously like curses. You made it. Their eyes widen and flicker to you, and when you meet their gaze, their anger seems to I'm sorry I'm late. You smile, unable to help yourself. Despite the fact that they are late, it's something well out of their control, and the apology makes your earlier impatience feel like just a. Oh my god, I'm fucking struggling to speak like hell today. And the apology makes your earlier impatience feel just as ridiculous as their guilt. You don't have to apologize, it's not your fault. I'm just glad you're here. I thought you weren't going to show. Uh, that may have been my fault. Today I was working on this. They waved a small device in their hand back and forth before you, thinking I could use it to help you. But as the night went on, I saw no sign of you. I saw Knox's words fade, and their unspoken emotion hangs in the air. In any case, I'm glad to see you. You look at the device with bare curiosity. What is it? It allows me to measure the spikes of energy during different astrological events. By tapping into the event's energy pools, I can utilize them to execute different tasks. Oh my god, different tasks or abilities. So, magic. It's magic. Nox laughs. I've never heard their laugh before, and the sound of it chimes through you with stunning effect. Your heart quickens and your mouth suddenly feels dry. What's confusing, however, is how impossible it is to keep a smile off your face. Perhaps to you it is, for my people it wouldn't be, it's science, but I suppose it's a matter of perspective. Maybe your world is simply so primitive, our devices seem like magic. You let out a surprised laugh of your own. Without thinking, you swat at Nox's arm. Your hand, of course, goes right through, meeting the couch instead. You both stare at the place where you should have made contact. Disappointment wells in your throat, a crushing feeling of nothing, serving as yet another stark reminder that, despite the exquisite company Nox provides, you're still very much alone. Nox clears his throat and shifts her weight a bit. The movement looks more like adjusting themselves in a chair rather than a couch, but it's an odd inconsistency in how smoothly they usually integrate into your apartment. I've come up with a plan that, well, it could work. It might. Really? You save both of us? I believe I can, so you don't have to worry, I'll handle it. I promise. Declaration takes you by surprise. It's much more sincere than you would have expected. Hmm. Hmm. I want to help with this. You wobble your fingers towards the device Nox holds. I appreciate your eagerness, but this is a sophisticated piece of equipment, and the science is a skill that requires a lot of training and honing. What's more, we don't know it actually works in your world at all. Well, maybe I can help you figure that out. Wouldn't it be easier to try and help if you knew whether or not the science works here? The shift in their face is all you need to know that you've made a strong point. Grin at them. Come on, Nox, please. I can't just sit here and wait to be annihilated, hoping for the best. Let me help. Nox sighs in a long-suffering way you find to be a bit dramatic, but they acquiesce. Fine, you can help, although I'm not sure how. Should I try building one of those? One of these? Absolutely not. It's a delicate machine, and done improperly, you'd be just as likely to blow yourself sky high. It's designed to harness and focus energy, something you likely can't do anyway. Okay, so what can I do? I'll figure something out. If anything, even data collection could be helpful. Most of those devices are relatively simple and should work regardless of a world's internal laws and physics. Great, so how do I do that? You're interested in doing that? Just collecting data you have no way of understanding? Better than doing nothing. Are you okay? You seem frantic. You suppress your reflexive denial for just a moment, considering their words. I suppose that's fair. This is the first time in a while that I'm feeling something. For so long, I didn't feel fear. In fact, I didn't feel much of anything. Loneliness, maybe? But even then, just barely. I just gotten so used to it, so numb to it all. But I'm not numb to this. I'm feeling all of it, every second, and it's just a lot. If I have to feel helpless on top of that, I don't know if I can handle it. I just want to contribute to my own fate, whatever it may be. You've survived a mass extinction that wiped your world clean. You have the strength to survive some waiting. Try to make your smile, but you can feel how weak you're. This time feels different. Now my fear consumes me. Every shadow, every corner sends me to spiral. And having to face all this alone. You aren't alone. I may not physically be with you, but I'm doing what I can in my own world. When we're apart, I hope that can ease the solitude. In the meantime, maybe you need to spend more time with your, what was it, planting? You laugh, shaking your head. I don't know if I have the patience for that at this point. Sitting still for so long sounds impossible. It's strange, routines used to help me, anchor me, but now, with everything else happening, like I said, when it comes to the convergence, no, not just that, there's also. Tell Knox about the strange things you've seen and heard since this, what did they call it? Convergence? Had begun. You need to stay away from all of those things. I figured. Your tone is teasing, but Knox's face doesn't change. We don't know the limits of those beings. They may not have my limitations, and they're sipping over from my world. Remember what I told you about the world seeking energy? You nod. Those shadows could do the very same thing, and you are energy, Altair. You're alive, and probably the most potent source of energy on your planet, save for the world itself. You need to be careful. You gulp, trying to keep your face straight as you absorb what they're saying. They'll hurt me. That's what you're saying, right? I need to avoid them because they're going to try and hurt me. Knox nods solemnly. But how do I protect myself against shadows? I see them racing in my periphery, seeping into my apartment walls, clawing at my doorway. And I doubt a hammer or a knife would do much. That's a charm you can make. It should work well enough and will make it very difficult for these things to get within arm's reach of you. The charm itself is simple science. The only caveat is that you can't lose it or drop it. Doing so will not only leave you more vulnerable, but also even more tantalizing to the creatures. Your eyebrows shoot up. Why? Nox shrugs. I wouldn't know the specific laws of balance and attraction that govern that, but I'd wager it has to do with the nature of hunger, to want what one cannot have. So be sure to keep the charm on you. Break it. You nod enthusiastically, and Nox explains how to put the charm together. It's a simple combination of ingredients you can likely scavenge: metal, running water, a crystal, and flowers of a specific shape and number of petals. Carefully write these down as Nox explains, lest you forget. Nox then goes over a simple, although more complicated, piece of science that may help them. So, this is the data collection you were talking about? Yes, these rings could improve the accuracy of my machines. Try it if you want, see if it works. If it does, record the readings as I explained them, and tell me about them next time. Bear in mind, this will take many tries and quite a bit of practice to accomplish. You're not discouraged, in fact, you're excited. For the first time in longer than you care to remember, you feel prepared. Thank you, Nox. Truly, I can't thank you enough. This makes it bearable. No problem. I mean, once again, you're alone. You sit on the couch for a long time, wide awake, excitement and hope buzzing through you. But you aren't able to enjoy them for long. The euphoria wilts rapidly until it's barely a memory. In their wake, you feel crushing loneliness once again. The voice in the back of your mind taunts you with the words you cannot bear to acknowledge. If this works, you stop the collision. Never see them again. What little sleep you get that night is on the couch. You things weren't here before. Oh god. Wait, I don't see it. I didn't see it. I don't know what it was. I don't know what it was. I didn't see anything. I go back. Okay. Okay. I clicked the book, I think. I don't know. I don't know how I'm supposed to see that. You're consumed by trying Nox's science. You begin with the charm as recommended. There are in the components. was easy in theory, but in practice it is far more stressful going out with Nox's warning buzzing in your ears. The hardest part of assembling the charm turns out to be the timing, as each component must come together at just the right moment. Once it's constructed, you have a not metal charm that easily fits in your palm. Once that's complete, you're tempted to test it more directly, but ultimately decide against it. However, you do notice that next time you leave your apartment to get the supplies for Nox's data collection, the overwhelming feeling that you were being watched is significantly less. You don't feel the need to check over your shoulder or run, and you're able to breathe outside once more. It's a thrilling realization, not only because of your reclaimed freedom, but because it works. You were able to use the sciences, even if it was just a simple one, and you feel more confident moving on to the data collection device. But the confidence fades quickly. This science requires an odd combination of materials, using elements you consider industrial and blending them with elements you consider natural. It's a strange juxtaposition. One that truly feels like a marriage of science and magic. Once you've collected all the pieces, plus extras in the event of failure, you practice assembling the contraption over and over, outside of the triggering conditions. Finally, after much longer than you would have hoped, you succeed. Move on from mere practice to building it under the required conditions. This leads to a whole other round of failure after failure. It turns out Nox wasn't just bragging when they claimed this was a highly specialized field, and your utter lack of expertise is thrown in your face. You try not to linger on the possibility this won't work at all, whether it be due to your world and Nox's science being incompatible or something to do with you in particular. You don't let these thoughts weigh you down. You can't let these thoughts weigh you down. If you do, despair will strike, seeping into every muscle, and you will drown under its weight. You push forward, desperate for another taste of hope and excitement. And then, after what must be more than a dozen attempts on the final step alone, the little contraption actually works. The two forms of rock, one igneous, the other crystal, float between the two horizontal platforms of the device. They wobble a few times before they start to slowly spin, circling each other in lazy rotations. Had there been anyone to hear you, the whoop of celebration would have been audible a block away. You take your new role seriously and begin documenting your recordings as Nox had instructed. Each day, when the sun and moon reach their peaks, you mark down the number of rotations per minute, a difficult feat as you had to track both the rotations and the passing seconds, as well as the direction in which they spun. As the eclipse approaches, the rock spins slightly faster, the rotation increasing per minute noticeably. You became captivated by this science, and hope that your meticulous care over the device will convince Nox to teach you more. Unwilling to wait for them or bank on their cooperation, you start venturing out again, looking for books that bear any resemblance to the principles that Nox had explained to you. Your search keeps you well occupied, and you barely feel the days passing. But your mission comes out woefully empty. You turn to your tarot cards. Your faith in them is reinvigorated by the new information that's come to light, and you're curious what they hold for you now. Top card. Oh. No. Sorry, no. Okay, this is... Y'all didn't say shit. The Reverse Devil, stepping into a new version of yourself. You stare at your card. Not long ago, you had discounted your readings and their impossible messages. Now, you struggle to interpret your card, not because its messages is impossible, but because its possibilities are endless. Nox was supposed to be here ages ago, or even later than they were last time, and anxiety has taken a firm grip of your insides. You moved the device to your bedside table so you could watch it spin, finding an odd comfort in the stone's lulling rotations. However, that comfort is rapidly waning, as violet dusk shifts into early dawn. You bite back your desperation to see them, the pain of being without them. You're not sure when these feelings had grown so strong. Part of your reasons is your desire for next steps and solutions, but mostly, you know, is your longing for their company. For the past few weeks, you'd experienced many moments you'd wanted to share with them, moments of realization of success, moments of joy and struggle. Particularly when you had completed the machine, you wanted to know if it would make them proud. As you lay in bed with this unanswered question, your eyelids grow heavy, lulled to sleep by the fantastical machine when you're not looking at the device anymore. You're looking at Knox, and your brain short circuits. Are you imagining it? It can't possibly be real. Knox is on your bed. Okay. Chest rising and falling in a slow, steady rhythm. They blink, and it's clear that they too were about to fall asleep. They don't disappear or fade. They're truly there with you. Well, as there as they ever are. Suddenly, Knox tenses and horror washes over the expression in a way that makes you feel slightly rejected. You push the feeling to the very back of your mind. I thought you weren't going to... I'm so sorry, I was trying to... Simultaneously, you talk over each other, and then cut yourselves off. Your pounding heart fills the silence, and you can feel the heat of a blush on your face. Try not to call any attention to your proximity. Afraid Knox will pull away. You don't want them to. Knox clears her throat and tries again. I'm so sorry, I kept you waiting. I don't know what keeps delaying me, but I didn't mean to abandon you. Your face flushes even darker, and their words smooth over something that had been growing prickly and painful in your chest. It's okay, you can't help it. And I assure you the machine. Got it to work? They sound impressed, and you feel the surge of pride. You instantly forget about your state of partial unrest, too eager to show them what you'd created. Yes, look, it's behind you. Knox sits up in bed and you follow suit. They pivot so they can see the device, and a part of you stores at the fact that they don't get off the bed entirely. It works! You've never seen Knox so happy. Your mouth stretches into a matching smile. Incredible, and it looks like it's been functioning for some time. Were you able to take the measurements we discussed? This time you pop up, darting across the room to grab the notebook you recorded the measurements in, and then hurry back to the bed. Yes, here. Knox surveyed the numbers with a serious expression, and you observe them patiently as they jot the numbers into a book of their own. For a time, you both sit there in silence as you display your work and they note it down. You did a fantastic job on these readings. The information is going to be enormously helpful. What do these measurements do exactly? Knox settles himself on your bed, and you consider for the first time that your bed and their bed must be in the same space for this particular situation. Sure. These measures location and proximity. They allow me to determine which world is moving, or if they both are. And which is it? You're nosy. I'm not, I'm curious. You can tell already, can't you? I can. They give you no other response beyond a slight wisp of a smile. You get the distinct impression that Knox is teasing you, something that your brain refuses to wrap itself around, or draw any conclusions about right now. Well? Fine. According to this reading, your world is the one moving. The words sink in, and you realize then why Knox is so amused. That tells me nothing. Ah, so now you realize? Alright, if you're all knowing, why don't we skip to the part where you explain it to me? Knox chuckles. The sound fills your body with a fuzzy warmth. It's good, potentially. The worst situation is both of our worlds moving, but in the current situation, mine has stayed its normal course, which yours is both diverting and accelerating, as if it's being drawn in. My cat is meowing in the hallway. You nod, understanding the parts you're able to follow and dismissing the parts you know are beyond you. You make the charm? I did. I made that first, like you suggested. Knox nods approvingly. And how is it working? Surprisingly well, honestly. Sometimes I can still hear things in the distance, and I still see the shadows, especially outside, but they never get particularly close anymore. Knox nods once more, looking pleased. I'm glad I could help. I was worried about you. It's been a long few days. Do you wish to learn another machine? Would you explain what this one does before I make it? They chuckle. Yes, this machine is designed to communicate with other machines, such as the ones you've already made. It's attuned to where they're located and can record a number of things, namely another machine's current and past locations. If I gather enough information from it, I may be able to calculate your world's trajectory and adjust our world's courses enough to prevent the collision. Makes sense, so you have Nox explain the next machine, jotting notes down in your notebook as they go. Now, this device is more difficult to make and will require more calibrations. Don't be discouraged if it doesn't work right away. Nox is a natural teacher, you realize. The rougher edges of their personalities moves into patience when they explain the sciences. It makes them quite exceptional. Hold on, I'm gonna open the door and see what my cat wants. Passa. Passa. Okay, both my cats are in my room now. By the time they finish their explanation, you feel prepared to go out and make the devices right away. Thank you for teaching me, letting me help. Nox gives a one-shoulder shrug, not quite accepting your thanks. You launch back on the bed a bit, seeming to have forgotten their earlier embarrassment over the pajamas. In fact, they seem quite comfortable laying beside you in bed. You may have been late, but it seems like we're getting more time together. It does seem that way, doesn't it? I rushed through the whole explanation, prepared to be yanked away at any second. But it seems the cosmos is said to be gracious to me. Your chest warms hearing the gentleness in their voice, and you find yourself glad they share your gratefulness and time together. You also look less transparent. Do I? Mm-hmm. Do I? You never look transparent to me. This surprises you, and you're tempted to follow that line of questioning, but there are things you'd rather know. What's your life like there? My life? Yeah, like your work? You make these machines, right? Why? I want to know. Vulnerability is unfamiliar to you after so many moons alone. Even the simple question makes you shy, and you wait with bated breath, wonder if Nox will interrupt you. Thankfully, it doesn't take them long to oblige. Well, okay. You're correct, I make these machines for work, though mine are usually far more complicated. Yeah, you're an expert, I get it. A smile tugs at their lips. I'm not discounting you. Still impressive for you to have made either of these machines. Your voice is tinged with pride, and it fills you with more satisfaction than you could have imagined. Most of my world relies and runs on machines like these. The downside is they use a lot of energy, and having so many drain your energy put us in a tenuous position. That energy function, but try. Everyone would die? I'm sorry, I shouldn't have mentioned that. It's insensitive of me given. Y'all, I think my cat wants me to end stream. You wave your hands through the air, dismissing it. Don't worry about it, really. Nox nods solemnly, missing their smile. Your turn to ask something. How long have you been entirely alone? You've asked me this already, you know. I suppose I have a hard time wrapping my mind around the kind of isolation, enduring the kind of solitude for so long. It's been a long time, like I said before. I couldn't give specifics. I only know it's been so many moon cycles. The loneliness is like any other emotion you've far too long. Eventually, it becomes a part of you. Learn how to move forward with its weight. I see. Silence settles over you too as you ruminate on your own thoughts. But it doesn't last long. You break through the quiet, not wanting to waste the little time you had left together. What about your family? What are they like? I have a younger sibling who is vivacious. Quite my opposite in every way, but they are the person closest to me in life. Ni se te ocurra! I'm gonna fucking stare off of my cat. No. Quédate ahí. Quédate ahí. No. mí me gusta. They balance me, as I hope I balance them. And I have my father. He's a demanding man, but a good parent. Was raised with love as well as high expectations. My siblings has been good for him, I think. They were impossible to pen in, and my father had to let a lot of things go. And your other parents? My other parent died when I was very young. I don't really remember them. He wins, regretting your question immediately. I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have. It's okay, Altair. Not all forgetting is tragic. I'm not haunted by it. It simply is. You try to smile, but you feel it falter. And you? What about your family? You hesitate, but don't want to meet their sincerity with disengagement. My mother, she was the last one who glitched, so it was just me and her for a while. You had lost your mother in the first quarter moon, but in a lot of ways you had lost her in bits and pieces. She was holding on for me, I think. She lost her only son, her baby, her husband, her parents. I was the only one left. You had this obsession with animals. She loved them more than people, and she was always thinking of them. She was the only person I ever saw consider that if the pets weren't disappearing, but their owners were, they would be trapped and could die. After every moon phase, even the ones where we lost our own family, she'd walk around the city checking the homes and apartments, and even cars of people who had disappeared, just in case. Did she ever find any? No. Pets seemed to be among those who disappeared, but we didn't know for sure. And Mom wasn't willing to risk it, be wrong, and have an innocent animal suffer for our sake. So we always went. Your mother sounds kind. Can't help but smile back, nodding. She was. I think she knew the glitch was coming too, like my brother did. Not to the same extent, but we were in the living room together, and suddenly she called my name. She came over and hugged me so tight. It hurt. It was that tight. I've never forgotten the look in her eyes, the sadness in them. She promised me that I'd be okay. It was gone. I think she saw it in the cards. She was doing tarot when it happened. The memory is surprisingly crisp, flooding you with the emotions connected to it, the confusion followed by fear, followed by a grief so profound that you thought it would kill you, that you'd hoped it would kill you. A tear escapes, slipping down your... Before you can wipe it away, Nox reaches her hand out, their fingers brushing over your cheek as if to wipe away the tear. Your fingers never make contact, facing through you as if you're made of vapor. You stare at Nox and they stare back, directly into your eyes, not moving their hand just yet. You can almost feel the tickle of their thumb over your cheekbone. Even without the physical sensation, the gesture makes you want to weep. When was the last time someone comforted you like... Think... Clear your throat, your voice sounding sick. I think she was relieved. I thought she didn't want to leave me alone. But that's not the same thing as wanting to stay. In those last few breaths, when she said goodbye to me, such a relief in her eyes. You think that would hurt. That's the memory I'd hold on to the tightest. She'd been carrying that pain for so long, knowing she went peaceful, not afraid or angry. That's how I want to remember her. You're incredibly strong. You have continued and persevered. Your voice is quiet and low, holding a gentle tone I've never heard from them. You not only continue to survive, such a creature of joy. Remarkable. You avert your eyes for a moment, your tongue constricting painfully. I'm just trying to survive. Not many would have the strength for that. As you fall into the safety of Nox's presence, the desperation to be next to them, truly next to them, suffocates you. If our plan works, and we save my planet, I'll be alone again. I don't know how I can go back to being alone again after... Their expression drops. Expression isn't pity, it's... You didn't know better. You'd say it was heartbreak. Nox removes their hands from where it should have made contact with your cheek and holds it up, palms towards you. Place your palm against theirs, lining them up where they should be touching. It looks like your hands are pressed against each other, but it feels like open air. Your fingers are longer than yours. You find yourself staring at its delicate shape. When you glance back at Knox's face, you find them staring at you with an intensity that could give off heat. I'll try and make something that allows us to talk even after our worlds pass by each other. Hope surges through you, and you try to suppress it. Is that even possible? Knox opens their mouth and then disappears. Despondent, you stare at the machine by your bed until sleep finally fitfully takes you. You things weren't here oh god, not again. Don't make me do- I'm bad at this. Oh, this. I feel like that's more important. I don't know. You begin writing letters to Knox. You know you can't stand them. Sorry. You know you can't send them. Still, you like to think that now and again, one may glitch into Knox's room. They can read a bit of them before they're gone again. The majority of your time, however, is focused on building this new machine. Just as Knox had said, this machine is significantly more complicated. The first obstacle you encountered were the materials, which simply don't exist in your world, at least as far as you know. So you spend a lot of time trying to identify reasonable substitutes. The hardest one by far was some kind of flammable gas, which you ultimately decided to replace with propane. Hopefully, it was the flammable aspect that you desired in this machine, rather than some alien chemical property you never hoped to replicate. On this particular evening, you need to replace a large petaled white flower that Knox called umber. They described it as a flower with petals the size of small saucers and a penchant for shady locations. Shady a moonflower, right? The flower must be gathered at night under a growing moon, so you leave during the night while the moon hangs high in the sky to find it. Luckily, you don't have to go far. Wildflowers and overgrown gardens are in abundance. You find many potential options. As you search, you hear the wailing begin in the distance. It puts you on edge, but you do your best to ignore the sound, trusting in the strength of your charm. As you walk through the city, you see a small crop of flowers that seem like decent substitutes for the umber flowers. Carefully, you begin pulling them up by the root. The machine requires the flowers intact until processing. You're not entirely sure when processing begins, so you err on the side of caution. It's a slow and tedious task. As you unearth the flowers, you become acutely aware that the shadow overhead is much larger and darker than you'd originally thought. Or the shadow is only large now, and darker. Thickens like a dark fog gathering in the corners of your vision. You search your pockets for the charm, hoping to brandish it at whatever seems to be gathering around you. You can't find it. Oh, maybe I should have chosen the boots. Alarmed, you dig through your other pockets, but the only thing you find is a hole in your jacket pocket. Oh god. Your charm is gone. Panic crashes over you like a wave, and it's a struggle to keep your head above water enough to keep moving. The shadows seem to sense your fear and swarm, making the air around you claustrophobic, and you frantically pull up flowers. Some of them shred in your hands, but you stuff them in your bag anyway. The shadows wrap around you. You're not sure how you know it's the shadows, but something primal in you knows this strange, hollow, painful cold could only be from them. They send straight into your bones, chilling you to the core. You yank away, tearing yourself free. The skin on your neck burns from the sudden release of the cold, like putting frostbite under hot water. You try to run, but something trips you. You go sprawling, scraping your hands and knees. They're immediately sticky with blood, but they don't hurt. Your mind is far beyond pain at this point. The wailing escalates to a screech and surrounds you. You scramble to your feet and sprint down the road towards the safety of the moonlight, but it seems like it's getting darker and darker. If I die here, I'm going back to where I got to choose stuff, and I'm choosing the boots. Clouds bearing a strong resemblance to the shadows cover the moon, blotting out its light and any remaining safety it may have offered you. You can feel the shadows closing in. The sensation of hot breath crawls down to your neck and the back of your legs. Then, out of the corner of your eye, you see some kind of other movement. Your first instinct is to veer away from it until unexpectedly, light bursts from it in a bright pulse that seems to sear away the shadows. It buys you the time you need. You run back to your apartment, refusing to slow down until you're within the walls of your building. As you climb the final flight of stairs, you spot your missing charm waiting on a random step. Clutch it in your fist, unwilling to part with it again, and certainly unwilling to trust your pockets. Gradually, the screeching subsides, and relief settles over you. You shut yourself in the apartment, your hand shaking violently as you turn the lock. Sinking to the floor, you crumble and sob. Blood smears carelessly across your face and stains your jeans as you momentarily lose yourself. When your cries ebb, your panic morphs into a hollow resignation. You craft a necklace that night out of your charm, securing around your neck, which now has blistered red rings around it as if burned. You don't leave your apartment except to calibrate the device. Similar to the first device, it requires several pieces suspended in the air by some unknown force, but whereas the first device seemed to develop some spin on its own, this one requires greater supervision. You apparently set it up, carefully aligning its assembly with the right conditions, and you wait for it to take, which it doesn't. The machine is a series of cogs and springs attuned to the different elements of the world, as well as the moon. Each time you try to charge the device, as Knox explained, it simply collapses on itself, and you're forced to reassemble it, sometimes even replace damaged parts, and wait until the next opportunity. You're acutely aware that you're out of your depths. Your hands and knees heal rather quickly. The marks around your neck remain stark against your skin, a harsh warning of what lurks in the dark. A few nights before you expect to see Knox, you miraculously get the machine to work. When the levers and arrows of metal begin to float and rotate around the center column and their low hum, you nearly collapse. Unfortunately, you're able to get fewer readings than you'd hope, which mean they need to be perfectly marked down. Knox had explained, if you're only able to get a few readings, there's no more room for error. You don't know what the readings mean, precisely. It makes it difficult to know if you've taken them accurately, but you try to access the information with slow, careful deliberation. You often try to emulate how you imagine Knox would have approached it, with calm, detached confidence. The night of the wax and gibbous were more actions than ever. You've been so caught up in the device's construction, readings, slow but steady influx of monstrosities into your world that you hadn't noticed how quickly time had slipped by. This is the last moon phase before the eclipse, your last chance to try and save yourself. It's also quite possibly the last time you would see Knox, ever. The feeling of running out of time claws at you, one you thought you'd left behind during the cataclysm. When you've lived alone for as long as you have, thought time was a resource you had in surplus. But now, with the eclipse approaching, you buzz with uncomfortable anticipation, and even more than that, you're acutely aware of the impending loneliness waiting to swallow you whole. When it had been just you and your mom, along with a handful of other people in the city, you had never assumed that you'd be the last person here. Even if you had, you never would have understood what that actually meant. Now, the knowledge of true loneliness permanently etched into your soul, returning to it. No, you won't sing like that. You can't afford to. You can only hold on to your new hope that Knox had figured out a way to communicate. They had said they were going to try, so perhaps you stop and wonder, quite bleakly, having hope is worse. It's driving me crazy. As your whispered words fill the apartment, echoing off the vacant walls, you startle. When's the last time you talked to yourself? Have you gotten so accustomed to speaking with Knox that you now crave the sensation of speaking, even if no one is around to hear you? You shake your head and try to still your nerves, while you anticipated Knox's lateness, purely on the trend from the last several moons, knowing that does nothing to soothe your nerves. You pace the length of your apartment, the nervous energy making your tremble and your stomach flip uncomfortably. Each passing moment feels wasted, but you don't know what else you can do. There's no choice but to wait. The moon is well into its descent, illuminating your apartment with an ominous red glow that does nothing to improve your mood. And then they're there, appearing so close to you that, if you could touch each other, you would have collided. Altair! Knox reaches for you as if they had forgotten you're not corporeal to them, and then stops just shy of your shoulder. Your eyes are locked onto your neck, and the intensity of their stare makes you flush. What happened? You're unsure what they're referring to at first, almost flinching at the anger darkening their voice. Then you remember the marks on your neck from your encounter with the shadow and wince. Oh, yeah, that was my fault. I was sure I had my charm with me, but my jacket's pocket had a hole. When I went to get the flowers I needed for the machine, the umber. Yeah, well, the umber replacement, since we don't have that, but the flower had to grow in shadow and be collected at night. When I went to collect the flower, the shadows wrapped me. I'm okay though, it's not as bad as it looks, I promise. I handled it. Nox finds their job, barely containing their rage, their hands hovering over their shoulders, ball into tight fists that make their knuckles blanch white. I'm sorry. The words are ground out, on raw. Sends a fresh bolt of fear down your spine, although a different kind of fear than what you've experienced so far. I should have. Nox, stop. What's going on? I have something to tell you. You feel yourself go still. It's an unnatural state for you, but you can't seem to break free of it. Red coal is in your belly, warning you. Something bad is coming. The measurements you gave me, I was able to use them to make much more accurate readings with my own machines. This reading suggested that there was interference, while the behavior of your world seemed normal from the base readings and makes sense when combined with the interference it suggests. Nas looks physically uncomfortable. Her hands open and then fist up tightly over and over, like they were trying to control themselves, frequently failing and needing to reset. The alarming to six of Nox as not in control. Your world was called. It didn't just find us. It's no coincidence that they're perfect matches for each other. The group I work for, there are many of us with many different jobs. I've told you, mine are the devices. That's the vast majority of what I do. I make them, but I don't decide what they're used for. I don't question what the reasoning or purpose is behind my assignments. Never needed to. Oh, we're going down that route. Okay. There are many others, though, more skilled than I am with science, who make the decisions that keep our world alive. This was their decision. Yep. Okay. That's cool. That's great. Awesome. Very nice. Thank you. You stare at them, trying and failing to process what they're saying. They used one of my machines to set your planet on course with mine. Our world is dying. Or truly, it's already dead. Shaving off, joining it. That's why this is happening. You feel as if the world is moving in slow motion, and it makes it difficult to speak. But you ask them to quit? I did. Your breath hitches. The moment I figured this out, I told them, I begged them, Altair, to change course, to find something else, anything else. They've taken enough. Anger leaps off them like heat from a flame, and the words are ground out from between. But they already knew about you. They had realized that this planet wasn't uninhabited, but felt by the singing feeling that threatens to blacken your vision. You wish you could comfort Nox. Put a hand on their arm, take their hand, something. The pain and rage seizing within them is painful to see. They felt that our world was not worth trading for just one life. But couldn't they just find something else? The machine I created. There's something called the absolute point. Once the point is passed, no stopping the collision. You have long, shaking breaths. Tears prickle the back of your eyes. And that point has already passed. Close your eyes for a moment, trying to gather yourself. When you open them, you see that Nox has stepped forward, so close your faces could be touching. If they were truly there, you'd be breathing their air. Tears make their blue eyes an even more shocking shade. The most beautiful thing you've ever seen. The absolute point had passed as soon as we met. Your voice sounds tired, and it makes it harder to control your temperature. You exhale once more, and force a smile. Thank you, Nox, for trying. No, we're not giving up. It's not giving up, Nox. It's just the end. I've been on borrowed time for years, realistically. And those people you work for aren't wrong. You can't trade your entire world for one person. We can't stop it at this point. The end of the road. I don't deserve this. I can't just let this happen. We destroyed our planet, and now we're resorted to cannibalizing other worlds. None of that is your fault. Nox, I can live with that. Don't ask me to. Your voice cracks on the words don't. Think about what you'd be asking me to live with. Nox opens their mouths to respond, but you hold up a finger. Shockingly, they close their mouths, letting you speak. There's a part of the cataclysm that I never told you about. When someone was taken, when they glitched into nothing, it wasn't just their bodies that disappeared. It was everything about them, everything even remotely living about them. We'd forget them, sometimes quickly, sometimes for a longer period of time, but we would forget them. I lost so many memories of my dad before I realized what was happening. I started keeping journals, and then you gestured towards the piles of journals filled with all the pieces of your family that the cataclysm had tried to steal forever. It's not the same as remembering. It's like hearing a story that someone else is. I can't even remember my sister's face. I don't know how I met my best friend. I couldn't tell you my brother's favorite book or what my mother liked to cook for dinner. They were simply erased. At least you would remember me. At least there would be someone who knew who I was for a time and maybe even talked. Talks. No, no, remembering you isn't good enough. How could I be happy with just your memory? More than what I could have offered you. I may not even be able to keep memories. I don't know how the cataclysm works. You're still you too. And I just go back to being alone, Nox. I can't go back to that. I can't lose this again. What if... What if I could save us both? The echo of the words you said to them many moons ago creates a pang in your chest that you're unfamiliar with, but it feels like it could be heartbreak. Your heart is breaking for them. But how? I'm not sure it's possible, but what if I could move you off the planet before the convergence? To where? Nox hesitates, and you strongly suspect that they were hoping you wouldn't ask that question. I don't know. I don't know if I could control where, and I don't have time to find somewhere suitable for sure, but there's a chance. You're shaking your head before they can finish. I can't do that. I can't be sent somewhere completely new, completely foreign. I'd die anyways, and I'd be alone and scared. Not if I go with you. Pause. Me? You come with me. Yes. And you really think this is possible? You can move us both to another world. Nox pauses just for a moment before nodding. Yeah, sure, you know what? What else do we have to lose? We either live or die, there's not much of another option. You smile. Your heart flutters, the beginnings of excitement, the revival of hope. Okay, save us. But I want to help. Nox laughs, the sound drenched in relief. You already have, Anomaly. I need the readings from your machine to make this work. I assume you succeeded at that one too? You grin at the assumption and nod. Absolutely. You give them your readings, and they carefully write them in their own book. Alright, here's my plan. Okay. Are you ready? You're not, but you aren't sure if you ever will be, so you brush away the hesitation. Yes. Above you, the eclipse has begun, and so has your timer. There's no time for sentimentality, or regrets, or wishes. Whatever happens, do not let go of that. You hold a contraption that you had made in the days before the eclipse, after following intensely detailed notes from Nox. It's shaped like a handle, with a woven rope hanging off one side. Nox holds one to match. Now, the most important thing to remember is that we may not land in exactly the same space. If that happens, don't panic. Keep following the handles. Do not. You've heard this instruction several times already. We have to turn these at just the right moment. Nox looks worried. You've never seen them so stressed. Somehow, you've settled into some kind of calm, acceptance for whatever outcome awaits you. You'll die today, or you won't, like any other day. But unlike any other day, there's a new possibility. You may get to be in the same space as Nox. I just want you to know. Don't say it, not yet. Wait until we're together. You smile at them, and they match your expression. Such confidence in me. In my experience, such arrogance is born from somewhere. It has its intended effect. Laughs. Let's calm down. It has to be perfect. I know. Let's go ready before we're blown to ash, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You open your eyes and are greeted with the most beautiful sight you've ever beheld. We fucking win this! We fucking win this! You made it. Nox grins and holds up their hand. You waste no time pressing your hand to theirs, and when it meets warm, somewhat collapsed skin, you nearly collapse with joy. Now can I say it? You may. I love you. Love you too. We fucking win this! I was gonna do the other endings, but I didn't expect this VN to be so long. I'm quite literally like a few minutes before I'm out of time. So, we'll finish it here. If you're interested in getting the other endings, play the game as usual. That's always the other option you have. If you want to see the other endings, you can always play for yourself and support the creator if you're able to. Having said that, thank you everyone for coming. I will see y'all for next time. And having said that, goodbye. Bye bye, everybody. Like, subscribe, do all the stuff. You know how YouTube works. You've been here on YouTube for a while now. I'm sure you know what to do. Okay. Anyways, bye bye. Bye bye, everybody. Bye bye.